looks. The difficulty with this picture was, with so much text, not to fall into the trap of illustration, but to remain painting. And the last of the 7 seals, and the 7 angels, which had the 7 trumpets, prepared themselves to sound. It's not too easy today to paint angels. And I see them as creatures who look at us and ask, shall we blow? Do we need to? Or will you destroy the universe on your own without our help? When you start painting, your first idea is to capture what you see in front of you. And little by little, you come to realize that A, it's impossible, and B, that it's not really the object of the exercise, because the picture is more important than the sunset or landscape or whatever you've got in front of you, which is only the starting point. It's only the thing that provokes the picture. What is important is the space of the picture, to organize the space of the picture in a way that the viewer's eye will travel round and come back in and always be agreeably entertained. Painters have known this for a long time, and they've used various ways of organising the space, the divine proportion, the golden number, etc. I use something which is similar to all that, which is the force lines. You can see that I've traced certain lines on the drawing, which are a sort of scaffolding. I make my drawing within that scaffolding. Afterwards the scaffolding goes and the drawing stays. When I look at, you see my eyes, for example, they're on a line. When I look in the mirror, I don't see my eyes like that. But I've chosen that because that is the interesting line on the picture that I want. It's where I want them on the picture. So what I'm aiming for is an interesting form, an interesting use of form and colour, which will have a certain resemblance to me. I can't really expect much more. I use a mirror in the studio quite a lot, in fact, because if I want to see how an arm turns or how a leg or foot, or I look quickly. I don't copy. I look just very quickly, because the essential thing is that it is digested in the imagination. That it isn't painted in a raw way on the canvas. It's got to go through the imagination. It's somewhat like the Wordsworth's description of poetry, when he talks about poetry being emotion recollected in tranquility. And the painter Bonnard, for example, said that if you paint a portrait, ideally you should put the model upstairs and the picture downstairs, and be obliged to run up and downstairs each time to look. And it's in running downstairs after you've looked that the image passes into the memory and is digested, because that is what we want. We want the things to be digested. I keep a jacket, for example, in the studio, and if I want to see how a suit or how the cloth turns with a movement, I put it on, but just for a few seconds, just to look Right, I see, I remember, all right. That is to prevent what we call in painting anecdotal. Things that are anecdotal. And anecdotal in painting means precisely that. It means things that are painted rawly from nature, which haven't passed through this process. When I do a preparatory drawing like this in charcoal, I always do it to the same size as the eventual picture. I find it impossible to do a small drawing and then to see it as a big painting. The original drawing and the painting, for me, have to be the same size. The moment you change the size, you change everything. You throw everything out of proportion. This drawing, which is now practically finished, will now be transferred onto the canvas, which is prepared and waiting, and then I shall have the difficult decision to make of the choice of colour, the palette, because that is something that you have to choose at the beginning and you can't change afterwards. And once you put the colour, once you bring colour into this, it changes everything. It upsets the whole apple cart. So now we've got the drawing. Now we see what happens when we start to use the colour.